Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue podcast. Today, I'm doing a uh, timely but untimely comic review. Today, I'll be talking about Sweet Tooth, Volume 1, Out of the Deep Woods. This is by Jeff Lemire with colors by Jose Villarubia. Um, Volume 1 collects issues 1 through 5, and these issues were published by Vertigo Comics in 2009. The reason I am doing a review for this is not only that I just read the book for a book club with the IRCB folks. I'll put a link down below for their Discord and where you can catch some of their stuff because we had a really, really interesting discussion. So, also, we just got the Netflix show Sweet Tooth, the adaptation for the show. So I wanted to check out the source material before going into the show. I kind of looking back, I should have just watched the show first and then gone back. But we had book club and we're here now. So for those unfamiliar with the book, the story focuses on a boy named Gus, aka Sweet Tooth, our protagonist, who has lived in a forest with his parent for his entire life, believing that there's danger outside of the woods where he lives in. So Gus is one of the few children who've been born since this kind of like extinction level event on Earth, where they have like animal hybrid features. Here you can see Gus on the cover with his antlers and his ears, kind of like a deer. So after the events of this book, Gus goes through some stuff. We meet some characters, and that kind of puts Gus in the path. I don't want to go too much into spoilers. So I picked a few panels to highlight the art and everything that we're going to talk about, but I made it very spoiler light because I really want people to enjoy this book. And because I enjoyed it so much, I'm doing a review. So here we are. So let's see. First of all, Jeff Lemire, both writing and doing the art for this book, is amazing. He builds a really engrossing post-apocalyptic graphic novel like this. The character is fantastic. Within a short number of pages, you get everything that's going on. Very fast-paced. Multiple panels per page. Very little dialogue. Only dialogue where it really matters, or at least that's that's the way I feel. But you really get to know who Gus is. You get to know his dad. You get to know some of the other characters that are introduced later on as the events start unraveling. We also get it's this post-apocalyptic world that we know is dangerous. We don't know exactly why until we delve in there, but a lot of the characters we meet along the way just kind of fill in the world. And Jeff Lemire, like he's very good at giving you just enough of what you need in this world to become familiar, but still be wary of the world. The story, it's very engaging. It keeps you guessing throughout the whole thing. There's not enough answers as far as like, okay, now we know everything that's going on. Actually, if anything, it's the opposite. There's so many unanswered questions that you'll definitely want to go back, and I definitely want to go back and read the book. So what I'm going to do is finish watching the show, and then I'll continue reading this book. This book is available on Comixology Unlimited. You can borrow the first omnibus, which contains, I think, volume 1 and 2. You can also borrow it from your local library. You can also read this, all 40 issues, on the DC Infinite app. Not sponsored by any of that stuff I just mentioned. Well, I do love the library, so I'll give them a plug anytime. But yeah. So the story in the world that Jeff Lemire creates, and if you're familiar with Jeff Lemire books, the tone is always it's a little more somber, a little more sad, melancholy, like. But that doesn't mean that there aren't good things happening to our characters. That doesn't mean that he doesn't build fun characters to be around. It just means that you have to be a little wary of, like, don't get too attached to a character. But another incredible thing about this book is that there's not a lot of both writer artist in this book. Jeff Lemire did the art. Now the art is very it's very non-traditional as far as like comic books go. This was like I mentioned, a Vertigo book, which always tends to go out a little bit in a different direction. It's not my preferred aesthetic, I will be honest about that, but for the tone of the book and what we're diving into, like it fits perfectly. Um, and that's kind of happened. There's other Jeff Lemire works that I've read, like Royal City, where he does the art, which, like I said, I enjoy. I enjoy quite a lot. It's just not my preferred aesthetic, just because I really like the more stylistic superhero stuff like that, more vibrant colors and things like that. So, which brings me to the another highlight, and I'm showing this panel again because Jeff Lemire does a lot of work with the eyes of these characters. These are two panels that, in a very non-spoiler way, kind of show that it's very interesting how much he can give you in a story just from the eyes. Also, the colors by Villarubia, they really add the tone. They set the tone for the book. Here we can see another panel where very muted colors. It really brings down that somber, tenuous, like you don't really know what's going to happen. You don't know what to expect out of this post-apocalyptic world, and that really works both along with Lemire's art to give you those feels. There's a few more things I want to show. Like I mentioned, there are. If you're a fan of old school, like weird cinema, you may have watched the movie called The Warriors, which it shows a very interesting take on New York and kind of the gang allegiance, or like Escape from New York and stuff like that, or Escape from LA. Obviously, this isn't that exactly, but it does have those feels of like, oh yeah, people would like become gangs and like they would be tribal and revert back to that. Um, and then once again, one more panel, like I said, Lemire's art along with the colors and these heavy inks for some of the more. This is not a horror book by any means, I don't think, but there are definitely parts of it where I think it's more serious and more like a little more gritty and grounded in this world. So overall, I'm very interested in continuing this book. Um, I'm super interested in watching the show. I've already watched issue 1. We talked about it a little bit on our live that you can find on the channel from June 6th. I also talked a little bit about it with my buddy Mike from I Read Comic Books. I think he put that out as a Patreon exclusive episode. So go check out the Patreon. I'll put some links to I Read Comic Books in the description of the video, because it's very interesting. So I'm glad I really wanted to go back and do a review of a book that I missed out on because I didn't read this back in 2009 when it first came out. If anything, I'm sure I would have looked at this on the shelf and been like, well, that looks weird. And if you look at all the covers, go back and check out the covers for even just the first 5 issues. Like, I don't think I would have seen how cool of a book it's behind the weird art that we have on the covers. But I'm glad that it's time now. I'm glad we made the time to read it for the comic book club. But yeah, overall, I give this a 4 out of 5. Very engaging volume 1. It leaves at a great point in the story where you really get hooked to keep reading. 5 issues that go by very fast. Like I said, fast-paced book, very little dialogue, but the dialogue that you do get is like, it's exactly what you need for this book. Enough to build the world and the story. There's a piece of the story that is not my favorite trope that we do kind of bump into in the middle issues, like 2 and 3, or 3 issues 3 and 4. It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic trope that it's just kind of what it is, a sign of its time, I guess. But But other than that, like, this book was a really fun read. And I mean fun as entertaining, because the book is pretty sad. So excuse me. So yeah, go pick this up, go borrow this from somewhere, go check it out. I'm sure there's a sale on Comixology. I definitely recommend it. I recommend you watch the show on Netflix as well. We'll be talking about it a little bit probably throughout the course of the show, or when it's wrapped up on the channel. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, have you read? Let me know in the comments. Have you read this book? Did you enjoy it? Have you read other things by Jeff Lemire that you'd like me to review? There's a few books that I would like to maybe do something like this. But definitely, as we get more adaptations of works and I go back and revisit the original material, I can do some of these retro comic reviews, because obviously this came out a long time ago and it's been probably reviewed to death, but I wanted to share my take on this book with you guys. So anyways, thanks everyone for watching. Remember to share, like, subscribe, comment. The channel keeps growing, so we appreciate that. Remember, we do a live episode most Sundays, so subscribe and hit the bell to get those little reminders. And we'll be having more content along the week, including in a couple of weeks our big lead up to the Fast and Furious movie release. Clay's a big fan. I'm a big fan. Kyle and Josh have never seen the movies, so it'll be interesting to get that take. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.